Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound. While I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the hockeythinktank.com, a website for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on former NHL player, now mindset and performance coach, Jason Podollan. This was a phenomenal episode. So many takeaways for anybody that's trying to be the best version of themselves as a player, as a person, whatever it may be. Got pretty deep, but it was a great conversation. Jason is a passionate hockey guy with such a wealth of knowledge based on his own experiences as a player growing up, playing in the NHL, also now as a performance coach. So excited to get to that conversation. Before we do get over to Jason, though, let's bring on the talent of the podcast. One, Jeffrey Jehu Levechkio. Vex, what's up, my brother?
Jehu here. Not much, man. Just living the dad life, figuring out day by day. These three things we pray to follow thee more clearly. If you know. You're laughing. Yeah, I got nipples. Fogger, can you milk me?
Oh God, I love it.
Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just kind of hopefully on the other side of this pneumonia thing.
An idiot.
That's been a lot of fun to
you ran yourself down, guys. Toph was out of town on the road. Like, how long were you on the road? Like, it seemed like you were on the road traveling around doing your team building for all these teams in Canada and the US. It seemed like you were, if I had to guess, it felt like you were gone for like 15 out of 19 days or something.
I was gone for a bit. Yeah, I was gone for a bit. The pneumonia thing was coming around though. Like, it's, we got like a email from the school, it's going around the kids' classrooms, and like in the Midwest, it's kind of like a big thing right now. So yeah, it caught me. It hasn't been fun, but obviously not contagious anymore. So that's a good thing. And got the opportunity to see our guy, Brandon Naurato, this weekend. So the Dryland Development Program, which is a program in the Boston area that we work with, they actually got the ice at Agganis Arena, which is where Boston University plays, on Saturday. And they got it before Michigan played against BU. And so they invited myself and Matty Thomas, who works with me as well, and Derek Whitmore, who's a great hockey guy, former podcast guest, to go out there and didn't play because I couldn't really play with, the lungs being as great as they are right now. But what a phenomenal group of people this Dryland Development people are, and what they're doing for kids in the Boston area. And then I got to watch the Michigan BU game on Saturday night, and Michigan came back and ended up winning the game 5-4 in OT. And unbelievable game. Jackson Hallam, Vegas draft pick, scored the game winner. This is his hat trick goal. So way to go, Jackson. And got to see the boys after the game. And it's always great to reconnect with people you haven't seen in a while. And whether it's the coaching staff, the support staff, all the players that were there a couple years ago when I was there. And so, yeah, man, just really, really cool weekend. And yeah, how was your weekend, new dad?
I don't even know what I did, dude. It's time.
Oh, you are a new parent now. I love it.
I never know what I do. I wake up, I hit go.
Doing back there.
Yeah, and I don't stop until my head hits the pillow. So I never really remember. But now you add in waking up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night to diaper and swaddle and all that stuff. start to lose. What day is it? Where are we? What time? I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah, I don't remember what I did this week. It worked, bro. Got better. That's it.
I like it. This conversation with Jason, dude. This is an all-timer. Like this is one. He's a great human. He's been through some stuff in his life. You know, he was a guy that was slotted to go like kind of top of the NHL draft, had a crazy draft day story that you guys will hear on the podcast, and kind of had to face a lot of adversity. You know, he was a world junior gold medalist for Team Canada, grew up in Vernon, BC, which is one of my favorite places in the entire world. Absolutely beautiful. But as in everything, you know, pro hockey is not easy, man. It is not easy. You know that. I know that. And obviously he had a crazy story as well when it came to his career. And so a lot of what he learned going through his trials and tribulations are things that he's helping the youth of today coming up go through. He's also a hockey dad as well. He's got kids coming up through it that have a dream of playing at the high levels. And this was just a really informative, constructive, emotional at times, like conversation. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I called Toph and I was like, bro, we got to get this guy on. I went on Jason's podcast, which is an excellent podcast, some point last hockey season. And I kept being like, yes, dude, we need to have you on. Like everything he talks about with his podcast, with his website, with the clients that he works with, his mindset business, guys, it's literally all of the exact same stuff we talk about. And you know, I say this all the time, but I think more parents need to understand this stuff because like I see it in a big way. Like it's really awesome to learn a lot from the Sidney Crosbys and the Connor McDavids. But when you read their stories and you listen to how they got to being where they are and stuff, like it's a lot of hard work, but like they didn't hit the trials and tribulations the same way that other players like Toph, like myself,
like everybody
Jason,
else,
like Jason hit here. And I really, truly, truly believe that you can learn more from a Jason Podollan than you could from a Sidney Crosby listening to their story. Because just so many people they're not at that level that Sidney is. Like nobody is, you know, nobody's at Connor McDavid's level, like 1 out of a billion. Way more of you can get more out of listening to Jason recap his story and all of the different things and adversity that he hit at all of the different levels, at junior, in the IHL, at the NHL level, when he was a kid, how being better than everybody, how he looks back and he's like, oh, you know, maybe I should have had this talk to me. Like there's so many things you guys are going to learn from this podcast, and you can spread to your teams, your organizations. You can share. What's up? Thank you. We love you. Be a bro, share the show. You know, that you're going to get from this one. And I really, really respect Jason. He's an unbelievable speaker. I meant to say this at the end of the podcast. Phenomenal speaker.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he said, like just like the way that he speaks is very clear and concise. Like he's somebody who I would pay to listen to speak. Like I really, really enjoy what this guy brings to the table. So I think you guys are going to like this one a lot.
Yeah. And if you want to hear more from Jason, he's got his podcast, Up My Hockey Podcast, or go to upmyhockey.com to see what he's up to. And yeah, let's get over to him. Before we do get over to him, though, we have some people to thank. First of all, I want to thank our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all of your coaching education needs. Man, like with all the people that we work with, I feel like everybody has Ice Hockey Systems and they absolutely love it. Like the amount of people who reach out to me on a consistent basis, maybe not daily, but at least like 3 times a week, like they're sending me a drill from Ice Hockey Systems that they drew up on there. Or they talk about how they, you know, have built these drill libraries and stuff. Like it's unbelievable. And so go to icehockeysystems.com. They've got thousands of drills, whiteboard explanations on systems and structures and habits and things like that from really high level hockey people. Ability to go in there, drop your drills, send them out to your players before your practice, build a drill library. You can also get this for every single coach in your organization. Absolute value add by going to the association's platform, and that's what we have partnered up with them to do. And so go to icehockeysystems.com today and look up that association's platform. You can get it for everybody, man. Unbelievable. Bex?
Absolutely love it. And they added Belfry. Ew.
And Belfry. Yeah. Sick.
Unbelievable. If you haven't listened to our podcast with Belfry, you got to listen to it. It was very, very, very enlightening.
Totes.
Want to thank Train Heroic. You guys know Train Heroic is the app that allows me to train thousands of players every year online for a fraction of the price. And I have something called Give More, Be More Team. Those are my own personal workouts. Moms or dads, coaches, if you're looking to get in the best shape of your life, try it out. It's it's on my website, gmbm.com. It's also linked to my Instagram, but you get 7 days for free. The first 7 days are free. If you're a little out of shape, you can do 1 set every day instead of the 3 sets. You could do 2 sets the next week or in 3 weeks and build yourself up. You don't have to do the entire workout, and that's how you can regress it. But we have to be leaders. We have to show the example. We have to lead by example, and being healthy. We've all seen where our country's at with that. It's an absolute disaster. It's a runaway train on fire about to explode. Like, our country's health is literally in dire straits. Be the change, be a leader, show your kids that health is very important. So if you want to join, I'll try and make a code here too. So all podcast listeners will get 50% off. I'll do that. I'll do that right now. I'll just call it the Hockey Think Tank Podcast. That'll be the discount code. I'll write it down right now. And when I get off here, you can reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll send you the link. And then you put in that code, Hockey Think Tank Podcast. You get 50% off. Also want to thank Cure Nutrition CBD company I'm with. You guys know, take CBD twice a day, every day. Since 2018, my last season playing, I had 14 TBIs at least. And it helps me to function, helps me recover from my workouts and my physically and mentally stressful days, building companies, building brands, building people. Let's go. Thank you, Cure Nutrition.
Boom. Also want to thank Helios Hockey, one of the best products on the market right now. So what Helios is, it is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads that gives you real-time feedback, real-time data on your play. And so it's really cool because one of the best parts about it is it syncs up with whatever video you're using, Live Barn, camera, iPhone, iPad, whatever it may be. And when you move, it triggers. That sensor triggers. And so you can get your shifts cut up for you at the end of every game right away on your iPad. Like, how sick is that? Absolutely unbelievable. Gives you data and feedback on your stride mechanics, gives you data on what they call a hustle score, how you're moving out there on the ice. Man, the feedback that we've gotten from people who have gotten Helios Hockey from the podcast has been absolutely incredible as well. And as you all listeners know, we say this all the time. We don't partner with companies that we don't believe in or can give you incredible value. So go to helioshockey.com today and use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a 20% discount on your pro annual or pro 24-month subscription. Or you can go to helioshockey.com/teams and you can get this for all of the kids on your team. Huge value add. Also want to thank Crossbar, which is one of our newest sponsors. I guess they're not that new anymore, but they are unbelievable. This is a software solution that if you are on a board or in a leadership group of a youth hockey organization, will make your life so much better and so much easier. The hockey directors and presidents that we know that have switched over from Sports Engine or whatever other clunky back end CRM model that you're using that have gone to Crossbar, it's like a game changer, absolute lifesaver. And so, like I said, end-to-end software solution that can help streamline your operations as a club. They got unbelievable, just easy website design that's really easy to use. You can do registration in minutes for anything from your season to payments to drop-ins to family skates, whatever it may be. There's an awesome club scheduler that makes things really easy. 5-star communication app to send the word out to the people in your organization, financial tools and reporting, volunteer facility management, like you name it, they have it. And so go to crossbar.org today and check it out, especially if you're looking to run your youth organization a little bit more efficiently. So love those people. And with that, you guys are going to absolutely love this podcast with Jason Podollan. And these are the kinds of people that we continue to grind this out for. We absolutely love you guys as people who continue to support our podcast. And we just want to provide value, man. Like, we really just want to provide value and get some really smart people on the podcast that can help you in your lives, whether it's inside the rink, whether it's outside the rink, whatever. He's a phenomenal person, and we just thank you guys so much for your support. It's why we continue to do this and reach out to get guests on like this. The more diverse the amount of guests that we get, that's what we're trying to do, and hit y'all with all walks of life when it comes to the game. And so if you can, for us, if you can like or subscribe or comment, rate anything on our podcast, it just goes a long way for us to continue to get the word out there, get into some more people's cars, get into some more people's headphones. Our mission is to make the hockey world a better place. And so if you feel like that we are accomplishing that, if you can please continue to help to spread the word, that would go a long, long way for us. We really appreciate you guys so much. I think you guys are really going to appreciate this conversation that you're about to hear next. So without further ado, here we go with performance and mindset coach, former NHL hockey player, upmyhockey.com, Jason Podollan.
Nothing gets me more excited than the thrill of the beginning of the fall hockey season. From the NHL on down, there's nothing better than competing with your teammates to start the year. Personally, I'm pumped for this year's quest for the Stanley Cup. Last year's season was incredible, and this one seems to be even better at the start of the season. And when I'm looking for tickets to see games live, I always use the Game Time app. I've used this app to get unreal deals all the way leading up to the game. It's really user-friendly and makes getting tickets so much easier through a new feature called Game Time Picks. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I'm going to be in Boston next month and use Game Time to get tickets to go see a game when they're playing the Columbus Blue Jackets to see some former players that I have. It was so incredibly easy to use because it's curated to my wants and even customizes your spot for you throughout the game. On the app, you can get a panoramic view from your seat. In the app, before you even buy it, there's a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. Pucks dropping on the 24-25 season, and get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. All available lines and odds from DraftKings Sportsbook app are for upcoming games. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. He's in one of my favorite and most beautiful places on this earth, Vernon, British Columbia. Jason Podollan. Jason, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. You've actually been to Vernon? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, yeah. I used to go scout at the Vernon Vipers games in the BCHL. It was actually one of my first trips. I think I flew into Penticton and then drove out to Vernon, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is unbelievable. Just beautiful.
Yeah,
so,
we're taking pretty good care of here when it comes to that. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. But with all of our guests, Jason, first thing we ask is we love to hear how you fell in love with this great game of hockey. And I know you grew up there in Vernon and now you're back, but what got you falling in love with this great game?
Well, that great Vancouver Canucks flying V jersey, of course, in 1981, man. Sitting on the floor of my living room, we had two channels that we could watch. One was CBC, and that was Hockey Night in Canada, and King Richard led the troops there to the finals against the Islanders. Yeah, legitimately 5 years old. I guess my parents couldn't get me off the carpet. You know, I'd watch the game front to back. That was the first year that I started playing, and that was my introduction to the sport, and kind of never looked back.
I love that. That's what kind of stinks. I'm in Chicago, and the Hawks just aren't very good right now. And you're kind of seeing it, right? Like there's not a buzz around. Like if you're like that age and a team's going to the Cup Finals or have a chance to win, like I feel like just like the numbers just grow, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And one of the I don't know why I just thought of it now, but it was on that run, and I knew nothing about hockey. I was 5 years old, but I did know that King Richard was playing pretty darn good, and I liked this Tiger Williams guy who was running around the ice, beating up on people. And one of the games against Calgary, it went to overtime, and like there was family over and stuff, and you all have your bets of overtime winners, and I picked Tiger, so they're all laughing at the 5-year-old, right? That I picked Tiger Williams, and he damn well, if he didn't score the overtime winner, that was when he rode his stick through.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was that one?
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, so that was like a pretty good introduction to betting and hockey. So there you go.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, let's jump right into it here, Jason, because you've had quite the journey, to say the least. And it's really cool what you're doing with your podcast and talking about, we're very open and we're very vulnerable on our podcast too, about the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns and the things that we've learned throughout all the moments of our career. But one of the things just in going through your website that you talk a lot about is expectations. You were a kid that scored a lot of goals in the WHL as a 16-year-old. And that brought with it expectations. So talk to us a little bit about just that time of your life, having that success. And you've had success, all the way up. I think, what was it, like 300 or 200 something points as a Pee-wee and things like that on your website. But like, I've been there. I've played junior hockey at a young age, and that's hard. That's really, really hard, especially with the expectations that you had on you. So take us a little bit through that experience.
The hard part of it?
Just all of it, man. Just all of it. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because, when I do look back, or at least when I initially looked back, I retired at 30, and I look back, and, my podcast starts with that I thought I was going to play 1,000 games, right? And I played 41. So like from an athlete standpoint and from a self-appraisal standpoint, I always felt like a failure personally, especially not because of anyone told me any different, but just because of what I experienced and what I thought I could be. And then I got to a point where it was like, okay, I can actually embrace the idea of being a really good junior player, amateur player, even a pro player, and then having it not go your way, because that's a great platform to talk about the value of all these other intrinsic things like mindset and work ethic. And I mean, these things that maybe I did have and some things maybe I didn't have, because it's freaking hard, right? Like the thing is that it's hard. So even as kind of a prodigy type player, as a younger player, like I ended up playing 41 games, like it's a hard thing to do. So, back to your question there early, like that was kind of the way things were laid out to me. Like it wasn't really a surprise to me. And I say this as humbly as I'm just trying to be black and white, right? Like me having that year in Spokane, I played with Paul Korea the year before, right? In the BCJHL at 15 years old. And I scored 20 goals there. I was kind of a guy that was supposed to be a guy. So when I went there and I was second to Jeff Friesen that year. I scored 36. Friese scored 45. Jeff O'Neill in the O, I think, scored 30. I think I was the second most in all of CHL, right, for goals as a 16-year-old. And it was just kind of the way it was. You know what I mean? I got selected to the Canadian national team, and it was all good. The first time where it actually felt like pressure, to be completely honest, was the NHL draft year. Like that was a different cup of tea, because it didn't really start off great, and I'd never really experienced that level of, oh shit, like this isn't going great. You can see maybe your name dropping in the rankings. You can hear the rumblings about what's wrong. You can't get on the ice. Like those types of things started happening that year. So that was like my first sort of step into into the adversity side of playing hockey. Up until then, it was just fun, to be honest.
Yeah, that's we talk a lot about like hit your adversity early.
Yeah.
Like the earlier that you can hit your adversity, because every level you go up and every year you get older, the adversity gets a little bit more magnified and it's a little bit bigger. And if you hit, like, I even think about it, like I got cut from a Pee Wee AAA team when I was 11, 12 years old. Like, that's kind of training, like that's kind of training for some bigger adversity that's going to happen. And if you have people around you that kind of like help you to process the adversity in a positive and healthy way, that can really help you when the adversity gets bigger, right? And so his name's Pete Rutilli. He's with Wasserman now, a big agency, and he's one of the, I think he's a great hockey guy. And he came to our conference a few years ago, and he said, you don't want to hit your first adversity at 18 years old. You don't want to hit your first adversity at 18 years old. Yeah. So going through that, like how was that for you? Like when you were kind of kicked in the teeth for the first time, and man, we've all been there. Like that's a tough place to be when you're starting to question yourself for the first time, and you're starting to think about external circumstances and what other people are thinking about you. Like that's, God, is that tough? But so what was kind of the mindset there, and how did you kind of get through some of those tougher times there?
Oh, I love that question. And one thing I'm just going to say we should get back to is that I think like in the youth environment now, like parents are really trying to avoid adversity, like at all costs almost. So one of the things that I find is like the players that I work with, they haven't gone through anything, you know what I mean, at all in any capacity. And now it is lack of confidence, anxiety, disempowerment, like all these things that come up because they haven't been adverse to it growing up, not in the school environment, not in the sports environment, not anywhere. And now they're in a real game like hockey that they want to be a hockey player. And it obviously it's changing. But from a personal level, it was tough because I had the whole dynamic too. And I'm sure you guys have covered this on your program, but of like the involved dad. Right. And my dad loved him to death. I mean, if he was sitting right here, I'd be saying the same thing. Like I was an only child. He wanted me to do great. He saw me being capable of great things, and he was involved. I mean, he was an entrepreneur. He was like that A-type personality. And that year was when it got a little bit problematic because he was seeing his kid not being on the power play. He was seeing his kid have some things happen to him that he didn't agree with. Like stuff like being the second star in Seattle and coming home the next night and playing Seattle and sitting on the bench the entire game. Like that doesn't make sense to a dad, nor did it make sense to me necessarily, but that's the type of adversity. It's like, okay, well then what, so dad's yelling at me because he thinks we should be traded. He's trying to pack my bag up and, get it out of the locker room. I'm trying to be, no, I want to fight this out. I want to figure this out. I don't want to be the spoiled kid that maybe some people think that I am. Right. So I'm trying to fight that branding image. And so, yeah, so like you're a 16, 17-year-old kid stuck between your parents who you freaking love, your coach who you admire and respect, and this draft dream of becoming an NHLer that is kind of falling apart around you as you're trying to be a hockey player. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And how did I do? I honestly don't really know how I did. Like I stuck it out. Like I was brave enough and courageous enough to tell my dad no. I was brave and courageous enough to be in front of one of the scariest men you'll ever meet in Brian Maxwell and ask him like why or how, like what do I need to do, being my head coach at the time. And the way it worked out was like Brian Maxwell ended up like quitting. Like he actually left. It was a strange, I've still never seen anything like it. Like, and I still don't even know really that I know I was part of that dynamic for sure. Like to what extent our situation was with that dynamic, I have no idea, but he showed up before a game, like Saturday night in Spokane, and announced that he was leaving the team effective immediately, like 3 minutes before he went on the ice. And and he left, and a new coach came in, Brian Federico, that year. That was in my draft year. And so like that whole thing kind of like that adversity left, and then a new guy came in and I was able to get some minutes, but there was a massive amounts of craziness going on. And then the idea of which you guys both know, like that there's a lot of loyalty in hockey, right? So like Brian Maxwell, there was loyalists for Brian Maxwell at the NHL level, right? Guys that he'd been around, guys that we respected. And he was a respected guy. There was also a lot of guys that thought Brian Maxwell was a little bit nuts, And so when I was going into my draft day interviews, Like there was camps that would crucify me.
Oh, yeah.
And there was also camps that were like, I can't believe you put up with that the entire year, you know? So that was even interesting to see, like from a holistic business side of it at that age, to see like how that world works, you know, and who has whose ear and how much it actually matters. So yeah, I learned a lot about the business side of the game. I learned a lot about myself. And it's kind of, to be honest, Toph, it's like one of those things when I look back, should I maybe have got traded? Like, should I, from a hockey perspective? Maybe yes. But from like a human perspective and me believing in myself and being able to stand in the fire and say, yeah, I can get this done. Like, you can't take that away from me ever, because that was hard to do.
100%. I had a similar, without the really good hockey player and scoring all the goals part. I had a similar situation my first year in juniors, where coach is skating up and down the ice. I'm the only guy skating. The rest of the team is on the bench watching me bag skate. He's skating right next to me up and down the ice. You want to quit? You want to quit? You want to quit? You're a loser. I'll send you home right now. Your career's over. And back then he was doing it because you couldn't cut or trade players that were in high school. It was pretty much an unwritten rule. I don't know if it was actually written.
No, I think it was a written rule.
It might have been back then in the USHL, because I was young. And so like he was like actually trying to make me quit. This wasn't, I'm trying to make you better, which it did in a lot of ways. And like you said, I am who I am, and I've accomplished all these other things. And what I did in hockey, probably because I became a pretty mentally strong human being because of shit like that. Do I wish that that happened? I don't know, but I have a question for you, because this is something that I think is, and we've already kind of touched on it here. So many parents now, and it's not for the wrong reasons, but they try to take away all the adversity. They try to take away all the pain. They try to take away all the problems. You know, like I've heard like some parents like calling their kids out of school on Monday because they're a little tired from the weekend. And it's like every week they're doing that. You know, and it's like, what is that doing to your son's mentality? And, oh, if I'm a little tired, I don't have to go to work later on in life. Like, that's not how the world works. You know, what are you doing to them? Do you have any advice looking back? I think you're a pretty big reflection guy. I can tell just from our few talks we've had. Looking back, do you have any advice for parents whose child is going through a hard time similar to yours or anything we've all been through?
Well, one of my really pillars of what I do now, not only with my own boys, I mean, we haven't really talked on that, but I have three boys that play hockey. You know, they're 15, 14, and soon to be 12 right now, all competitive and all quite good. So as a hockey dad, I handle it the same way as I handle it as a hockey mindset coach. And or when advising parents, is like, you need to be there. And it's kind of, people have said it before, right? It's like, you need to let them skin their knee, and you also need to let them get up. And when they can't get up, then that's when you should go in and help out. Because to me, that is really the beauty of that self-awareness, one, which is a massive skill. Personal empowerment, which is also huge. Self-esteem, like all these things that make you able to withstand storms and want to persevere happen in those moments. So, I mean, as a hockey dad, like there was a couple years in a row where Hudson, like just recently, probably the last 2 years, were really hard for him. You know, my oldest had a hard time getting on the ice, had a hard time kind of being where maybe I thought he should be on a power play if he was on a power play, you know, was kind of passed over, you know, those types of things, right? And boy, you want to get involved. Like, I feel it. You want to get involved. You want to say something. You want to do whatever. But I always went to my kid and asked him how he felt and asked him what he was prepared to do about the situation, if anything. Right. And if he didn't know what he could do, then we have a conversation about what it is he can do. What are his controllables? What conversation can he start? Right. What can he do to better his situation? What is he prepared to follow up on and to be accountable to himself, right, to make the situation better? So as much as we want to get involved personally, and I think this can happen at a really young age, like we need to arm our athletes with the skills and the tools to be able to help themselves. And that only happens if they're in situations where they need to help themselves, and if you're able to allow them to try and help themselves and potentially even fail in the process. Harder to do than I'm saying right now, but it is a massively effective tool.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I I've told this story on the podcast before, but I was a coach at Cornell for a lot of years, and we did a big deep dive into our players one summer. Confidence, academics, hockey playing ability, like just everything, just a full profile. And it was really interesting because one of the things that we uncovered was that there was a direct correlation between a kid's ability to have a hard conversation and their confidence as a player. Like if you are more willing to have a hard conversation and be proactive about it, like you're the one knocking on the door to come talk to us when you feel like something isn't going well. Those were the most confident hockey players that we had. And in turn, those were the most confident kids that we had. And so I love everything about what you just said there, because it's so, just forget about hockey for a second here. Like just in life, like, and Vex and I talk about it a lot. Like one of the most important life skills we can teach our kids is how to have hard conversations, because at some point they're going to have to. And at some point, they're going to have to advocate for themselves. And at some point, life's not going to be fair and they're going to have to do something about it. And what you said too, like as a coach, one of the best things that we could hear is when a kid comes into our office and says, "What can I do, coach? What can I do to earn this role? What can I do to get more ice time? What can I do to earn your trust?" Dude, like there's no better conversation that as coaches we like to have other than that, because usually it's, I should be getting this, or I deserve this, or why, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, no, like this is much more in your control than you think, like what can you do? And so, man, I just love everything that you just said. And it's such valuable advice, I think, for all the parents that are listening, and all the kids that are listening too.
Yeah. I will expand on that for one thing, because that's the part that even pros forget, is that you don't know what that answer is going to be. Right. So when you're walking in there and you're asking that question, and I think you framed it great, it's not, I think I should be on the power play. It's, hey, coach, what can I do to get on the power play? Or what skill set do you think I'm missing? Now you're going to get an answer to that, right? That you might not like. And there are really good chances that you might not like it. But then what do you do next? And I think that's the piece. Like that's the piece, from whether you're 12 years old listening to this right now or you're 22. What do you do with that information? Period. Do you follow through on that? Does the coach see you working on that skill set on the ice, off the ice for the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks? Like, to what level are you going to go there? Because it's one thing to have the information, it's another thing to do something about it. And oftentimes players aren't accountable to the information. And I promise you, so you just said coaches love that conversation. How much do you love the conversation that kid is still working on whatever it is until he gets on the power play?
Oh my God. It's trust. Right. Yeah. It's all about building trust. And that's what you want to do as a player, is you want to build trust with your coach so that they feel comfortable to throw you out in those situations that you want to be in. And there's nothing that builds trust with a coach more than doing what you're asked and then doing what you're not asked, like being the first person on the ice and the last person off. We notice that stuff. And the players notice that stuff too. Your teammates. Right. And so, yeah, like as a coach, you're so right. The follow through is everything.
I think something that's so simple, but very few players will do it. And I've had a few who do it, and they're all very successful. I think a big reason is because of it. Is when they go into coach's office, they bring a notebook. Whatever coach says, they're writing it down. When they watch their video, they actually take notes of their own shifts. Then they bring that notebook with them to the rink. So they're reading it before practice. And so in their head, when they're going out there in practice, I think so many players will watch video like, oh, okay, I could have done that better. And then it stops there. They're not going out there. Like what you said, Jason, like, what are you doing after? Or you ask coach, what can I work on? Okay, you tell me. But then you don't go out there and do it. So I think it's like such a simple thing. If you have a hockey notebook where you're writing notes and you're taking notes on your video and coach tells you to do something, maybe you write, hey, coach wants me to work on blank at home. Then you look at that thing every day. It's really simple, but now that's going to act, Topher and I was talking about, like kind of like bumper lanes of things that are going to keep you in the lane the right way, going in the right direction. Yeah. And now you're going into practice with some things that, okay, like I know I need to work on these 3 things. I see what the drills are today, or, ooh, I can add this into that drill. I can add a little blank. I can add a stutter step before I shoot, because he said goalies are reading my shot is, really, like bring it into practice and actually work on it. Bring it home, actually work on it. That's how you're going to get better. Relentlessly work on those things.
I think And what you're saying there, the word I use is either deliberate practice or intention. And I think that they're both skills. Like the things that I think fall under the term mindset as I use them, like that's one of them. Like intentionality is not something that you either have or you don't have. Some are maybe have a higher aptitude than others, but it is something that if you want to give intention to and practice, you will get better at it. Right. And if you can bring intentionality to your practice, to your workouts, to your off ice stuff, of course, you're going to be maximizing and doubling down on what the heck it is you want to do. And Topher, just back to your point about just a little additional thing. And this is one of the things I talk about with my players too, is you do that stuff, right, that we're talking about. So you're accountable to whatever it is you want to be accountable to. And we're adding intentionality to our practices and to our games and to our habits. People notice, one, right? So now the coach is noticing. And because the coach is noticing, you have a natural bias to see improvement as a coach. You are going to notice when Jimmy shoots that puck and he scores, and oh my God, look at all that work that went into that. Look at all the work that he's doing. So you actually see things that may not even be there. The thing I say to the players is you are going to be getting better. Like, don't get me wrong. You're going to be getting better. So you are getting better because you're putting in the right work in, but people are already noticing, and they're already giving you that type of benefit, which, to your point, right, Toph, build trust. You see things. He's getting better. He is improving. These are things that we want to get behind. We build a fan base around us. And if you can do that all authentically, now you have a real magical recipe, because you can't be doing it for those reasons. But if you do it because you're playing the long game, you're going to have a massive fan club with you. And that's the guy who's going to answer the phone for you. And when he says, who do you need? I'm going to give you this guy, because this guy's going to keep getting better. It's not that hard, but it's really, really powerful. I'll tell you that.
I never thought about that, but like with a kid that's working like that as a coach, your gut reaction when something happens, like you're almost going to be looking for the positive for that kid.
Yes.
As opposed to a kid who, I always call them the kids you have to beg to work hard, like I'll never recruit another kid who I have to beg to work hard, like you can't want it more than the kid. Those just for my own mental health as a coach. Like I don't want to coach those types of kids,
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so with those kids, you're probably looking for things they're doing wrong, just subconsciously. Yep. And for the kids that are putting in the time and putting in the work, you're probably looking for things that they're doing right. And so you've just been given rose-colored glasses almost as a coach based on the work ethic that these kids are putting in. I think that's true. I 100% think that's true.
Yep. No, I mean, from a scientific standpoint, I think it's the RAS, reticular activating system, like that part of your brain. And it's like, if you're going to, whatever, you're buying a Dodge Ram black, you've been thinking about it. Now, all of a sudden you're driving down the road and every truck you see is a Dodge Ram black. It's because your brain is actually focused to try and see those things without you even knowing it. Mm-hmm. So from a coaching perspective, it is the same thing, right? You see a kid who doesn't back check and you've noticed it and you've pointed it out. You're going to notice all the times he doesn't back check, more often than maybe the one time he does, because we've just been unconsciously conditioned to see that. So you got to try and you got to gamify it as a player too. You know what I mean? Like, you do have to understand that some of these things do come into play. And again, when you stack like the reasons of why this is beneficial to you, it almost becomes kind of painfully obvious that you shouldn't be doing anything else other than that.
And to the players listening, or the coaches having their players listen to this episode, because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch, like, as somebody who coaches for a living, when I have players who, when I tell them they need to work on X or Y, and then I see them doing it with more intention when we're doing it, and then I see them working on it on their own, I coach that player even a little bit more dialed, because coaches love to coach. They love to help people. So when you see that somebody's getting better because of your helping them, you want to help them even more. You're like, oh, wow, they're actually listening and they're seeing it work. So now I focus on that player, like he's saying here, just a little bit more. And I give him a little bit more intention, because I know that if it's go talk to this player who doesn't even pay attention when I'm talking to him, or doesn't try anything I'm telling him to do, or that player who maybe isn't as good, but everything I tell them to do, they're working on and they're seeing improvement and I'm seeing improvement, I want to go help that player more 10 out of 10 times. So selfishly, as a player, like he's saying, gamify that, see that, understand that, pay attention.
That's the human element of it. And one of the pillars of what hockey, one, is a team sport, and two, it's like filled with humans. who have to make decisions about you, right? Like there's interpersonal factors that go in that is way outside the goals and assists. And I speak to that from like a very personal standpoint, which is maybe why I'm so passionate about it now. I mean, scoring 42 goals in the AHL as a 21-year-old or 22-year-old and leading that league and not being able to get called up to a non-playoff team doesn't make any sense. But I isolated myself when it came to like being around the coaches, like where I would do my work. Like I almost wanted to be perceived as the guy that didn't work, if that even makes any sense at all. Like I would do the work, but I wasn't doing push-ups in front of the coach's office. I would tell you that right now, because I didn't want to be that guy. And I think it hurt. Like I think I was misunderstood. And I think there's a lot of things about the human side of the game that I didn't get as a 20-year-old. Now that I completely understand way more, like you need to have a fan base. You really do need to have a fan base.
Well, I want to dive into that a little bit because it's really interesting that you just said I didn't want to be that guy. And I totally get that. And none of us want to be that guy. But one of the things that I talk to a lot of players about, and you know, I think we all deal with this, and we all deal with this kind of demon of trying to be somebody for somebody else instead of just being your true, authentic self. You know, we're at our best when we feel comfortable in our own skin. We're at our best when we're living our best life, you know, and we're not worried about what other people are thinking about us. And that's way more easier said than done, especially for the kids coming up today. Looking back in your career, especially with what you just said there, you know, it was almost like you're trying to play this character, trying to be this person to get called up or whatever it may be. With the work that you're doing with kids now and having experienced that and reflecting back on it now, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Great question. And it is so deeply dynamic too, which I like, because I think like that a championship team, you have personalities on that team and you embrace the personalities because that comfort level is so key. So that idea of one, like understanding who you are and then playing into that, into your preparation when I talk to players now, right? Because you look across the locker room and at least a well-balanced, you know, team championship level locker room, not everybody's sitting in their stall, dialed in, not talking to anybody, looking at the floor. You need somebody running the music. You need somebody who's dancing in the middle of the room. You need someone who's going to crack a joke at some point, right? Because everybody prepares differently, but they need to be doing that in the most authentic way to them, right? And understand that this is how I do get ready, and that everyone respects them in that room, in that capacity. So to your point there, yes, 100% agree. Like understanding who you are, being confident enough to understand who you are, to be able to do that in any environment, whether you get called up to a new team, right? Whether it's on your home club team that you're comfortable with all your buddies, whether it's a tryout camp, that you do the same things because you know who you are and how you play your best hockey, super key. For me as a pro, I mean, the stuff that I learned after and like how I help athletes now, like this whole idea of growth mindset versus fixed mindset has been so fascinating to me and so impactful to me as a person, that I wish I understood myself better psychologically back when I played, because I was very fixed mindset. And I think that's what hurt me from the idea of being really good young. Like I was gifted and I was gifted and then I also grew early. So I had two factors that were like very supportive in me being a strong player. It also told me that I was better than everybody. Now, not in I hope at least not in a cocky way. Like, you know, teammates have come up to me since, and I think I was a good guy in the locker room, but I had this belief that I was just better. So I knew that I needed to work hard. Like that wasn't part of like my fixed mindset, but I didn't want to come off as trying too hard because then you're not that talented, right? I didn't understand. I didn't connect the dots that way at 20, but that's the way I operated. So me scoring 42 in the AHL and being perceived as maybe not having to work that hard at it, that I felt better about that. Like that was sort of the image that I wanted to have. Now that was a completely wrong image of myself because really I was doing work. I was working real freaking hard. I'd come to practice and I'd put in the small, you know, I'd do the things in the moments where no one was looking, but I would have allowed myself to embrace that a hell of a lot more. And instead of like looking down my nose at being, you know, a try hard or whatever these phrases are, to have the growth mindset idea of like, okay, you were gifted talently from a talent perspective, right? Like you do have a little bit of an advantage, but now like imagine if you really dove into that aspect, right? And you did double down on that. And you did see how much better you could get and were curious about your development. And you wanted to bring other people in and form a team and use other people to get farther and to advance your skill set. Like those were some of the areas where I didn't know that I was operating from a fixed mindset. Now I know you have the choice to actually pick. You just have to have the self-awareness to understand where you are in that matrix. And then you can make new decisions in the moment, right? You can continue to make these new decisions, these growth mindset-based decisions that are going to help you move forward, help you bring other people in, help you ask for feedback, help you celebrate success of others, right? Like all these awesome little things that can happen when you understand what you can do as far as the decision-making model is concerned. That was probably my biggest miss out of the whole idea was fixed versus growth mindset. One, for me personally, and two is understanding the power that somebody really needs to like you.
I love that, man. That's why I love you, bro. Like we're on opposite ends of the spectrum with our skill, I'm sure, but like the same mindset now, especially in like talking to players, because I tell them all the time, like I was the try hard, like not doing it in front of coach, to do it in front of coach, because I just knew that I had to, or else I wasn't going to be there. I loved being known as the hardest worker, but I didn't work on my skills enough. I only worked on being the hardest worker all the time. Right. And looking back, I'm like, damn it. Why didn't I also be the hardest worker at learning and acquiring new skills instead of a little bit more fixed mindset of just keep doing what's getting you to that next level and is my calling card and things like that. But I tell players now all the time, like, think if you take your skill with my will and we put that together, it's over. You're to the moon. Kind of the same thing you're saying here, but from the opposite standpoint.
It's officially the holiday season, which means we are all looking for those amazing deals on Black Friday and Cyber Monday that we can't find throughout the year. Except with Raycon, because with Raycon, you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year. But that doesn't mean they're not having sales on Black Friday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering my viewers up to 30% site-wide. A Black Friday deal you appreciate every day? Raycon's everyday earbuds, especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. For example, they now feature a 32-hour battery life, multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with two devices at once, and active noise cancellation. It's a feature that's a must-have for me on long flights since I travel a lot, but one that can be difficult to find at an accessible price point. Until now. Because there's another thing. Although Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, Raycons start at just half the price as the other guys. So they're already an incredible deal even before you factor in Black Friday and Cyber Monday offer of up to 30% off site-wide. Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to just have the standard issue white or black earbuds sticking out of your ears. You can even rock our signature royal blue color while you're listening to the Hockey Think Tank podcast. It's time to save big for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right. You'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
Jason, I got a question for you. Like, where did that come from? The not wanting to be the tryhard. Was that kind of like the culture of hockey at the time? Was that the guys that were in your room? Because I travel around and do a lot of team building and culture building type stuff, youth all the way up through college. And that's one thing that I talk about with every team is like, hey guys, it's cool to work hard. It's cool. Like that's not a bad thing. And sometimes there's player in a room. Like if you want to do something different, you have to be a little bit different.
Yep.
But a lot of times people don't like different because everybody wants to be the hardest working player in the room, but not everybody's willing to be the hardest working player in the room. Right. So there's two ways. If you're not the hardest working player in the room, there's two ways that you can become the hardest working player in the room. One is you can find the hardest working player and go outwork them. Or the second one is, I don't really want to work that hard. So rather than upping my game, I'm just going to bring that person down. Right. Because I still want to be the hardest worker, but I don't want to work that hard. So I'm going to call that guy a try hard. I'm going to make fun of that guy. I'm going to make sure that I've created this culture where it's not cool to work that hard because I don't want to do that. And so I've been in locker rooms where there's been players like that, where it's like, hey, kid, like dial it back here. You're making me freaking look bad. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm 5'4" and I have to work this hard to be in this room. So screw off type of thing, you know? But that's a lesson that I learned way too late. You know, like there were other times where I did, you know, just dial it back a little bit because for fear of like being made fun of or like being called to try hard or whatever. Yeah. So where did that, like for you, where did that come from? Just that, like, I got to play this role a little bit here, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, good question. And maybe I didn't do a good job of explaining exactly how I was. Like I despised my teammates that put on a show for the coach or the trainer or the assistant coach. Because when it was just us in the weight room, that same freaking guy was sitting on the thing looking at his phone.
Those guys are worse than the guys calling the people the tryhards. Yeah.
That drove me bonkers, right? Yeah. So that drove me bonkers. So I don't think that you would find a teammate of mine anywhere that would call me lazy in any capacity. Like it wasn't that I didn't, but what I mean by that is like, if we had to be at the rink at an hour and a half before, I'd show up at an hour and a half before. I was stretching in the middle of the room 5 minutes before the game would start and have a stitch of equipment on. You know what I mean? Like just like the unconventional, little unique, kind of like laissez-faire sort of like you could deem me as that. Like if you looked from the outside in, not the guy dialed in his locker room an hour and a half before with his jersey on, right, and eye black under my eyes, not talking to anybody. You know what I mean? That wasn't me, right? So I kind of amplified those aspects, those characteristics of me, and I was almost like anti-establishment. So, and I think it was a bit of the culture at the time, Vex. I think we kind of talked about that a little bit. Like it was, at least in the environments I was in, it was like coaches versus players, not coaches and players. So it was almost like, F you, I'm doing this. We're doing this together from a team perspective, right? And I'm doing this on my own journey. So like, yes, I did work hard. Like, I mean, you ask my mom in the basement where our stationary bike was, like the hours and the pools of sweat that would be underneath that thing, you know, like me at 14 having a rollerblade, like I mean, I didn't even know what training was, but I would like have races against myself, you know what I mean, like knowing that I was trying to get better. So like I did work for sure, but it was just I guess the perception, I guess, potentially that I was more concerned about. Like
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I love the psychology of stuff. As you can see, I geek out on it. I love your questions about it because I think that is the secret sauce of the player too, right? Like the the hockey skills and the development and the workout and nutrition, like that's all. Like I think that's the given, but it's like how do we define and find the psychology of the player that allows them to take that next step forward? And I mean, what you're asking me is a psychology of me. And God, I wish I could go back and exactly know what the hell I was thinking at times, but definitely didn't help myself out, I don't think, from building a fan club from upper management. I don't think.
Gotcha.
I think this speaks to the importance of sports psychology, though. Like, even if you don't have a registered sports psychologist in, if you have somebody like any of us who understand this and have been through it and can come back and speak to a team, like if you're a coach, reach out to some players that are around you, ask around, like having somebody in to speak about this stuff. Cause I've talked about on the podcast multiple times quickly. I had a teammate who we were in an unfortunate car accident and he passed away, and I think he was a sports psychologist and a psychologist for the Cornhuskers, came and spoke to all the guys who were involved in the car accident. And he gave me this sports psychology CD to help me sleep. But on the CD, there was also like a peak performance track. And it was an actual CD I had to listen to in a Discman inside of a fanny pack with the headphones before every game. But it changed everything for me. My life, hockey, that CD changed everything and opened my eyes into like, whoa, like, you know, this psychology thing really helps me and with my confidence. And so it's like, you know, all these stories here, everything we're talking about right now, guys, it is so important. It's not weak to ask speak to a sports psychologist. Every team now has one on staff. Every team wants their players talking to them. So if you're a junior team or a high school team, a midget team, bantam team, if you have somebody around you that can come in and just give a few pointers and get the kids to realize these things, working hard is cool, being yourself will help you be a better player, you know, all these different little tiny things, getting them to grasp this, getting them to get excited about it and learn about it can really make a massive difference in their career and their lives.
The biggest difference, like as far as from an uptick, because everyone is relatively dialed in now when it comes to a lot of these things, right? Like people are working out everywhere in some capacity, some better than others and some more efficient than others. But, you know, I mean, that's a thing, right? Like there is skill development in every program everywhere, better than others, but it's still there. It exists. You can take a player that is getting X result, and if you put him, well, whatever, I can say for me, I'm not a sports psychologist, so I'll double down on that, but as a mindset coach, and he can take my program, I can see a player get tangibly better in 2 weeks, tangibly, where parents will be calling me saying, what happened to Jimmy? Right? The same skater, same stick handler, same everything, but he is thinking about himself differently in the game. Like you can't get that uptick anywhere else. You know, you can't. And it's not the same for everybody, obviously, but players, because their people process things differently. What do mistakes mean? Right? What does it mean being at the bottom of the lineup? What does it mean being at the top of the lineup? What does it mean being on the power play? What does it mean not being on the power play? What does it mean not scoring in 5 games? What does it mean scoring 3 games in a row? All those things mean something different to somebody, and they're going to respond differently in that situation. And if you can give them empowering ways to think about that story in whatever capacity it is, they will show up differently with the skill set that they have. It's mind-blowingly different, right? Like it's mind-blowingly different, and you get better results. And there's so few people that are thinking about it. It kind of still blows my mind. More popular, like you said, definitely more popular and definitely more into the, you know, lexicon of our sport, which is great. But if you're looking for competitive advantage gains, like it's a no-brainer.
So let me ask you this, Jason. You get the opportunity to work with, you know, a lot of different athletes of different ages. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing kids have to face and have to go through that potentially, if you help them to make a little bit of a mindset shift, it could, you know, elevate their game to those leaps and bounds that you were just talking about?
Most of them are scared in some capacity.
Scared of what?
Well, generally speaking, I call it FOPO instead of FOMO in this case, fear of other people's opinions. Fear of the mistake and the potential consequences of that. Along that is FOPO, right? But like maybe mom or dad, if they're a young athlete, maybe it's getting out of the lineup, or maybe it's not getting the next shift. Fear is a big one, because then that stops us. Like, what do you do when you're scared? Like, generally, either we fight, like it's that fight or flight. In hockey, you can fight physically and really, or you can be like super aggressive, but very rarely do I find that being like the answer. Usually players become now passive and conservative, right? So if you're playing passive and conservative because you're scared of making a mistake, are you amplifying your innate skill set? Not at all, right? So now you're not making mistakes, maybe, but now you're blending, or even worse, now you're making mistakes because you're not taking, you're not being aggressive with the game. And how do you feel leaving the game in that scenario? You feel crappy. You feel like you didn't participate. You feel like you weren't valuable. You had no impact. Your self-esteem is lower. Like, all these things happen. And you have to remember, in the mind, or this happens at the pro level too, believe it or not, but especially if you talk about an amateur athlete, they have no idea about that whole cycle I just talked about. They just keep showing up and trying to play, right? Like, it's like the parent that says, Toph, like, go out there and be confident. Well, how the hell do you do that? Right? Like, how do you do that? Like, Of course you want to be, but like, how does a 15-year-old go out there and be confident when they're actually scared of making a mistake? Pretty hard to do, right? So you have to help them connect the dots on that, as like why it's not scary to make a mistake, and why you can be proud of yourself if you are actually brave enough to make a mistake, and how that next moment after a mistake can actually be the defining moment for you as a hockey player, for how you come back from that mistake. And that can be the piece of competitive nature that's going to show for that game, is that you are able to bounce back. Like what I just said, there is 3 different ways to process that thing, right? The thing of the mistake. It's all about the story you want to tell yourself about it. So you just got to give them a different story.
I think we just became best friends.
I told you, bro. I told you.
No, like all this stuff that you're talking about, Jason, is so incredibly important. It's not talked about enough. And it's interesting. I one of the things I do with the Hockey Think Tank is I do a lot of parent talks. So I get in front of parents, and one of the things I've gotten into the habit of doing, of parents of all ages of kids, is I'll ask them, let's say I'm in a room of 100 people, say, hey, all you parents in here, raise your hand if your kid's too hard on themselves. Raise your hand if your kid's too hard on themselves. Every time, typically 75% of the people raise their hands. Yep. Like, it's really sad, to be honest with you. Like, it's tough. And I think a lot of it has to do with this FOPO that you're talking about, this fear of other people's opinions, fear of making mistakes. And my view on it is, we've done a really shitty job as adults of creating environments where this happens with kids. And that's the parents, that's the coaches, that's the administrators, that's everybody, the higher level. Like, we've professionalized this game way too early. And we've created these conditions where these kids feel like they have to be perfect at the youngest of ages now. And that's why 75% of the people raise their hands in those, when I ask that question. So as somebody who is a mindset coach, who works with a lot of these kids on rectifying that, let me flip it a sec. What can we do as adults to help create better environments? What can we do as adults to help create better conditions where this isn't something that kids are having to face at such young ages, and they have a little bit more confidence in themselves? Right. They're not afraid to risk it and put it all out there. They're not afraid to be their true, authentic selves, because everything that we've created as an environment kind of squashes that stuff a lot right now. So what can we do better as adults to help with that?
Yeah, well, great question. I think if we can be savvy enough to recognize a mistake made because of a stupid decision, or a mistake made because of someone being brave and courageous. And I think if we can celebrate the brave and courageous ones, right? Like, you know that this kid maybe came into your office and he wants to walk the blue line a little bit more as a defenseman. And this is something he's been working on in practice, but he hasn't had the bravery or the courage or the confidence to do it. And he goes out in a game and he tries to walk the line and he gets his pocket picked. Now, we can celebrate that or we can demonize him for it, right? Like, now I understand we're talking about all different ages and all different levels here, but like for me as a coach, I would be very congratulatory to him. Good frickin' job, right? You went out there, you've been trying it, you were courageous enough to face the fact that it might not go well, and you did it. Now I want you to go out there and I want you to try it again. You know, like that is where I believe the culture of that is built. And you can have 20 players on the team that we are celebrating bravery and we're celebrating courage. Now, that doesn't mean you go cross ice in your own zone and throw a pizza up the middle. That's not brave or courage. That's not understanding the game. Right? That's not understanding the game situation. Like there are situations where mistakes are still mistakes and you need to coach those. But when we're talking about a player trying to be creative and I think are trying to make a play, those are things that are usually is what's holding players back. They're scared of what might happen if that doesn't go well for them. And I think that's one of the things as a parent or as a coach, we can celebrate that. We can actually celebrate the idea that they made it, you know, and create that underlying culture, establish that culture early on. And I mean, maybe it's easier in practices for sure. Like to be like if somebody falls over in one of my skating drills, like I stop the whole thing and I'm like tapping my stick on the ice. Like this kid got so uncomfortable trying to find this edge that he actually fell over. That's amazing. The chances of him probably falling over again are going to be way less because he explored that realm. He explored that option. Now, if you're in an environment where that kid falls over and everyone's freaking pointing his fingers and laughing at him, what are the chances that he's going to go all out again on that? Right. So like, I do think that you can create the culture by what you want to celebrate. But it's the fact of actually following through, which I think is the problem that most coaches have, and especially organizations or academies as a whole. I mean, everyone knows how to talk the good language, but how do we actually deliver on that? You know, how do we actually follow through? But yeah, I think it's what you want to celebrate, right? I really do. I think it's what you want to celebrate.
Love that. And it's such an opportunity after you celebrate them and congratulate them for trying and pushing it to the limit there. And okay, but every time you quote unquote failure is not final unless you quit, unless you stop right there. It's not final. So when you were walking the line, is there anything you could have done a little bit better, do you think? And here's the video. Watch it. What do you think here? You look down before you shot it. You didn't know where the guy's shin pads were. That's why you put him in his shin pads. Let's work on keeping that head up. And now you can learn, adapt, apply, and reinforce to them over and over and over. Failure is not final. If you didn't push yourself, you wouldn't have realized that every time you walk the line, you do this, and that's why you're losing the puck. Then you're losing confidence. Then you don't try. So right away, let's rip it in practice. Get out on the ice 5 minutes early. Do this 15 times in a row. Yeah. Then do it in practice. Then try it in a game. And just getting them to understand, like, the more you fail, if you right away learn, adapt, apply, you immediately just got better. And now just keep doing it. Like you say, too many players are afraid to fail. But like failure, going all the way onto your edge, trying to find absolute furthest you can take it. Well, now you know how far you can take it and how far you can't. Now you're going to be a better skater.
I am a realist, so I do want to interject there because being a mindset coach and you think butterflies and rainbows and positivity, right? There is a real hard black and white line when it comes to competence, which is one thing that I say is a pillar of confidence, right? Like we can't fake our way into confidence. So if you're not good enough to walk the line or you haven't developed that skill, like you're an idiot if you keep trying to do it. Right? Like there's an honesty there, right? So like you need to apply and work, to your point, Bex, right? Like away from the game to get better at that skill. So then you can show up when the lights are bright and give it a whirl, right? Try it. And if you didn't get it, then go back and go to the drawing board again because you're not competent enough to be confident with it, right? Like there is an element of work that's involved here. There's an element of skill that's involved in there. We have to be honest with ourselves. And that's the thing that I do like doing. I mean, even with young players, like young guys that I work with, like, dude, you're not a good skater. You can be, but don't pretend to be something that you're not, right? Like we got to work at this. And I think like that type of level of like, yeah, I got your back. Yeah, I'm going to help you through this, but you got to buy in. You got to know where you're at. I mean, that's what I wanted as a player. I don't know about you guys, but like a guy that was honest with me straight up. I knew the answer was true. I knew that, hey, there was something I could do to fix the situation, whatever capacity, good, bad, or indifferent. Like I valued that. And I find that the players that I work with value it too.
Did you ever get that? And Toph, I guess I'll ask you first. You haven't spoken in a minute here. You ever have coaches where they would just, I know, but would you ever have coaches that you go in their office and ask them a question because you're not playing or this or that? Oh no, you're doing great. You did just keep it. And it's like, no, you don't think that. Why are you saying that? Tell me exactly what you think. Tell me exactly what you're seeing. Tell me exactly what I need to work on because I'm going to go do that. Yeah. Don't tell me you scratched me. Guys got sent down. It's a numbers thing. You're doing great. You got just keep doing what you're doing. Well, you took me out. There's a reason you took me out. Just tell me and be honest, you know?
I mean, you do have to be honest, but sometimes the honesty is, you know, you're just number 13 on the depth chart.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
you are doing everything that you can, dude. You're working you know what off here are the things you need to work on, but like you're doing it, you're just not in the line. Like you're 13 out of 12 right now.
Right.
You know, and those, honestly, those were the harder conversations were the kids that were doing what was asked but they just, from a talent standpoint or a role standpoint or whatever, they weren't going to help your team win that game, you know, and that was always our promise to the play. We're going to address the 20. They're going to help us win this game. And you're not one of those guys. Like, so it's hard. Like that's the hard place as a coach sometimes too. But it has to be honesty.
Yeah,
it has to. And yeah, 100%, dude. Like going back to like inauthenticity, like players can smell that a mile away. Like if you're feeding an angle or feeding a line or whatever, like you're just like, screw you. Like,
yeah.
I don't want it. You've just lost my trust, you know?
Yeah.
You know what though, guys? Like I just listened to one of your episodes there talking about recruitment in youth sports, and I don't, almost to a fault potentially. But don't you find that isn't there a correlation to what you just said there? Like you're telling, like there's people are scared to tell a 10-year-old right now that they need to work on X, Y, and Z because you might hurt his feelings or mom and dad's feelings. And now maybe they might not want to come to your program, or maybe they might not want to do whatever.
Oh my God.
So there's like this protectionist aspect to it that is really like, and we talk about why are kids at lowest confidence level I've seen in years? Like why are kids so can't handle adversity? Because they aren't even able, they don't get told that they need to work on X, Y, or Z, or that this is a deficiency in their game because everyone's scared to. Anyways, I just think that it's problematic on a lot of levels, right? About how like there is inauthenticity from a coaching standpoint to parents and players for a lot of reasons, I think.
Well, it's so funny, even at the college level, you know, the guy that I played for and then ended up coaching with in college, in the recruiting room, like he was as black and white and as honest as they came. And there'd be times where Benny and I, our assistant coach, would be like, did you have to be so honest with them? Like, you know, like, all right, there's going to be some massaging maybe. And he's like, no, man, if they can't hear that, then they can't play for me, you know? And I think that's one of the reasons why he's been one of the best coaches in college hockey for close to 3 decades now, is because like, it is like, we want players in our program that can handle that kind of honesty.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody, and that's okay. And there might be a kid that's a better fit for somewhere else and they're going to be good at another place. And that's fine. But like, they wouldn't succeed here if they can't hear it from me at the outset, like what they're going to expect and what I expect of them and what I think of their game right now. But it was funny because Benny, it was so like, he'd be like talking, we'd be like, he's going full honesty mode, you know, like, oh no. But at the end of the day, it was 100% the right thing to do, because you're not selling a bill of goods that isn't true.
Yeah. Well, expectations, everything, I think, on a lot of levels, right? Like there's disappointment's real, right? If you have a standard or an idea that this is the way something's going to be, whether that be, you know, we can even go back to like my draft year, right? Like in my draft day story, I thought I was going to go 15 to Toronto because I shook the GM's hand and he told me that was what was going to happen. And I went 31st, 16 picks later, right? Like that expectation difference was traumatic, right? Just for like a player going into a team and thinking, well, the coach told me I'm going to be first PP, I'm going to be first line, and now he starts off third line. That's traumatic because he thought he was going to be first line. So it's like, yeah, I mean, how do we tailor that, right? How do we can create an environment and a culture where that is like, where it's a meritocracy based scenario on a team? Like, I think those are the ones that are the healthiest, where you earn what you get, fight for your food type thing, and less promises the better, because we all know that they're probably not worth anything, even if somebody's telling you that in the first place. Like, that should be a huge red flag for somebody. You know, I'm going to play. Well, how are you going to tell me that? That's what I would say as a dad. How are you going to guarantee me that Hudson's going to be in the power play? That doesn't even make sense. You know, like that should be like, no, we better go another direction right now.
It's June. There's no power plays for 5 months. What do you mean? What if he's the worst player on the team to come training camp?
Right.
I tell parents that all the time, because that's one of the questions I get the most, Jason, is like, where should my kid play? What should I look for in a team? What should I look for in a coach? And like, I always tell parents, like, if the coach is promising you ice time or this or that, run for the hills, run away. Because if he's promising you that, he's promising other people that too. And somebody's going to end up in that situation where it's like, you know, it's traumatic. I was told I was going to get this, and now they went back on it. And that's not a fun place for a kid to be. I had a kid who was told same thing. Like, hey, if you're there in the first round, we're going to take you, by like 5 different teams. Went in the second round. And it's like, well, why say that? Like, it makes no sense, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just, people in their word nowadays, it's, sometimes it's not great.
Well, I think it's hard for parents too. I mean, because it's careful what you wish for, I think sometimes. And if you haven't been in the environment, like, I've completely 1,000,000% I'm grateful for the 10 years pro that I played, like, with my kids now. Like, that almost means more to me now. The perspective of that as a parent, I find it more valuable than it even was to me, right? To be able to understand like the real game that goes on, and like where development really happens, and how you actually get to be paid to play hockey. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's so powerful. And the thing is like, what you just like, I want an environment where Hudson has to work for something. I want an environment where he's told that value lies in effort, teamwork, and character, and that's actually followed through on. I want to be close to my arena. I don't want to spend time in a car. I want him to have to make the team, not be given a spot on the team. Right? You mean, like, all those little things, those little pieces of the hockey journey that can be present are the things that will make him a player, not the manufacturing of the path, right? Or the points, or the position on the PP. So I do think that, like, from a parent perspective, those who haven't been in it at a high level, it just seems natural that you want those things, right? Yeah, if someone's going to give me that sounds great. A winning team, a really strong team where my kid's going to be on the power play. What else do you want? That's probably actually not what you want at a certain age. You know what I mean? Like, especially younger ages. But anyways, I think we're kind of digressing from the point. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, youth hockey right now is completely bonkers. I think, the amount of guys that are just doing it for the right reasons, which is like investing in players, period. I think it's kind of becoming a little bit more rare, and I don't know, it is what it is, but you just try, and I think you guys are having the right conversations and doing the right things, and I don't know how you guys market or whatever, but I just think, like, people migrate, like, I think if you have the message, like, to your college coach there, like, the people that you want are going to come to you because they like what you're about. And I think that that's the best way to do it, because the more authentic we can be about that, the more authentic our quote unquote customers are, right? Our players are.
Yeah. 100%. Well, this is, that's why we do it, man. And I'm sure it's why you do what you do with your podcast too, is to be able to bring on awesome people like yourself and talk about some of the things that we've learned along the way, that kids who are listening to this are going to go through those stuff someday. Whether it's in hockey or outside of hockey. And so we really appreciate your time, Jason. This was really good. This was really good. And we got to keep in touch here, because I have a feeling this conversation isn't over. But we appreciate your time here today. We are going to keep you for a 10 questions that we're going to house in our Hockey Think Tank community. But this is an episode that's going to go a long way for a lot of people. So
yeah,
really
man.
appreciate
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. And maybe just like that one last message is as far as the storm and the adversity that we covered, right? Like if you're trying to prepare during the storm, for the storm, you're going to have a hard time, right? So like, I know it's hard to be proactive when it comes to this stuff, but like give players the tools now, right? Like when the times are good, when things are going good. Like that's one thing I find with parents right now is like, oh, well, it's not that bad yet, and it's like they want to wait for this bottom of the barrel moment to like provide support for their players to handle the moment. Like, yes, it can help, but that's kind of too late already, right? Like you want to set them up prior to the storm coming and make them healthy, holistic, mentally fit athletes, right? And I think if we can do that as coaches or as parents, like we're being a better service to them. So yeah, don't prepare during the storm. Try and prepare before it even happens.
Where can people reach out to you if they're looking to talk to you or work with you or anything like that?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, upmyhockey.com is where that happens. I do work with individual athletes, so if there's parents out there that players of whatever level that want to work with me and my program, I developed a 4-week mindset program that's based online that's been massively successful. So like that's an option. I do work with teams, Toph, to your point, like when teams take this type of a program and training, like the collective rising of the boats is pretty awesome. It also gives like the terminology and lexicon for the coach and the parents, and now they start identifying adversity as opportunity. Like talk about problems going away inside that culture system. So anyways, so teams and also academies and associations I work with too. So that's all at upmyhockey.com. All the contact forms are there. So yeah, thanks for the question.
Awesome. Jason, thanks a ton for your time.
Cool. I'll stick around for the 10 questions.
Let's go.
Thanks for having me, guys.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.